Time for the Bulls to Netflix and chill? Or are we going to see more downside coming off this earnings report tomorrow, Tuesday, October 21st? Find out in today's Netflix earnings preview video. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Jeremy Hritz here. Courage pays better than fear trading. I hope you are having a phenomenal day. And earnings season is upon us, and the big boys start to report tomorrow. And I'm talking about the Mag 8. Some people might even say the Mag 9. And I lump Netflix into this group because it does move the market. It is a big player in the stock market, and we potentially can see some large moves coming. And one thing that probably could be on the table that I thought may have been announced last time, that's a stock split, could be coming tomorrow when they report. But with that said, let's jump into the charts and see what potentially can happen. All right, so here we go. We are looking at the current price action on Netflix. We are on the daily chart, and you can see today when I'm recording this Monday morning, October 20th, Netflix is up $25.53, 2.13%. And it is currently above the 100-day simple moving average. And we're just going to take a look at the recent price action here on Netflix, what has happened over the previous earnings reports, and what potentially we can see happening come tomorrow when Netflix has their earnings. So let's just jump into it here. And let's just start with the last time that Netflix reported. We could see that this was coming off that all-time high up here at $1,300.41. That is just massive. And you could see here the day that they reported, they had a nice green candle after a bit of a sell down. And then what happened the next day, they gapped down, and it led to this drop where it nearly touched the 100. It didn't touch it. And we had a drop from that all-time high to that low that followed earnings of 14.66%. That's $196.71, which is no small move. It's nothing to sneeze at. And you can see that actually the low that we put in here, the most recent low, is $1,134.15. And that came on, really, it actually came before that big tariff announcement from Trump. So if we measure that out to see how far it dropped from its all-time highs to that low, we got about 15.45% of a drop, $207.22. And from there, we started to push out. Now, it did break down below the 100 and the 50 simple moving average on the daily, but it did not come down here to test the 200 SMA on the daily. And that's where I was looking to buy some out-of-the-money call options in advance of earnings. I never got that opportunity, so I currently have no position here on Netflix. But interestingly, what is shaping up right now, if you look, is a bit of an inverted head and shoulders. And this bullishness that we're seeing today could be indicative of the move that is coming. But let's just take a look over the past few earnings reports to see what has happened. And the most recent one, we see that we did have a gap down here. So let's just go ahead, type in gap down. And that was back on July 17th. And if we go to the report prior to that, we'd have to go to April 17th. And that was coming out of the tariff weakness. You could see that we had this nice little double bottom that was formed. And from there, Netflix really started to go on its run. And it wasn't a huge move the following day, but it did push up into the 1,000 area before getting rejected. You see that long upper wick there, but you do see a lot of volume came in. And really, that April report is what started this higher move. And if we measure this out from where it came from the April earnings to that all-time high, we had a move. Let's go from the top of this candle here. Let me just make sure I have the wick. We moved up a total of $360. Again, when Netflix moves, it makes massive moves. So that was just a strong push higher there on Netflix. So we did have a gap up here in April. So let's go ahead and write gap up on the chart. And then if we come back to their their winter report in January. This was January 21st. We had another gap up. And you could see that the day heading into earnings, it was retracing a little bit. It was below the 50. You had this long upper wick that came in, but then it did smash higher. You had a lot of profit taking that occurred here. And then we just traded it inside this candle before it pushed higher. And then the Liberation Day, the tariff weakness started. So we had another gap up here. Let's go ahead and type that in. So of the last three reports, gap down, gap up. Now let's just keep continuing back here. So this was the previous fall report, October 17th of 2024. And what did we have? We had a sell down into the 50, and then we gapped up, consolidated within that candle, and pushed higher. So that has been a little bit of a trend that we've seen here recently following those earning reports. Gap up, a little bit of selling, trading inside that candle before moving higher. So let's go ahead and mark this one out, gap up. So 3 of the last 4 reports from Netflix were gap ups. And let's just take a look at this last one here. We'll go back to July of 2024 right here. And we did have a gap down. It did recover a little bit, but it didn't hold. Sold down, nearly came into the 100 and then pushed back up. So we had a gap down here. So of the last 5 reports that we looked at on Netflix, we had 2 gap downs, 3 gap ups, and we're waiting to see what potentially can happen here. Now, just because we are having a strong bullish day at this moment doesn't mean that this move will continue into earnings, but it is showing some strength and interest from investors. And really, we've just been moving sideways after we dropped on that last earnings report, and you've just been building out support here. You could see thick support here on the VRVP. And like I said, this inverted head and shoulders, we're not overbought, we're not oversold on the RSI. We're kind of hanging out here on the middle of the RSI chart. And the volume has been steady. It's picked up here a little bit in recent weeks, has declined somewhat, but now we're going to get that earnings report, which will dictate its move higher. So if we're looking at this just from a technical perspective, again, we did have a nice sell-off. We nearly came down and tested that 200. We put in this inverted head and shoulders. We're sitting on a nice thick volume node. So we potentially could see a bullish move. Now let's just take a real quick look at the weekly chart. And what we're seeing, again, just kind of sideways movement here. It hasn't done much after it hit that all-time high. So that compression could be setting up for a move higher. And the fact that we are above all of the moving averages on the daily, the weekly, and also the monthly is also a bullish signal. So what do we want to watch? What are the key levels we want to watch in the event that Netflix reports strongly? Well, the first key area of resistance we want to watch is going to be up in the $1,342 area, which is where it made its all-time high. And how does it interact with that price level? Does it get rejected? Can it bust through that and push higher? We'll have to wait to see, but that's the area that you want to watch for the bulls if it can get a strong gap up and move higher. And there's been a lot of optimism and excitement from Netflix with their K-pop Demon Hunters movie that they put out. It's been just a huge hit. My kids love it. I don't know if you've seen it, but there are also some things to consider in terms of negative catalysts that could hurt this stock, and that's Elon Musk leading a boycott against the company because of some questionable content that's out there on Netflix. That did cause some weakness in the stock, but it has since recovered. If we're looking for an area, if you're a bear, where can this fall to? Well, what is very clear is we have this 200 simple day moving average down here at $1,110.16. So if we were to have a poor report, we would want to see what it does at that 200. So that's the key area we're watching if we're a bear. So the bear case, very simply at that 200, $1,110.15. And we're watching a retest of that all-time high at $1,342.36 if we get a push up. Now, keep this in mind with Netflix. When it moves hard. And one thing that I've noticed about Netflix is it typically, after a drawdown, and again, this wasn't a massive drawdown, but it will push up, and it seems to be a lead indicator for what's going to happen next in stock. So just keep an eye on this one. Again, they're going to report at market close tomorrow, and it should be a fun one. So there you have it. Netflix reporting earnings tomorrow. So hit your Netflix and chill. And here's a question. I love Stranger Things. We are going to get the finale of the series coming in November. I am pumped about that. Are there any Stranger Things fans out there? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate your support of the channel. Smash that subscribe button, and I will see you back here for the next earnings preview, which is going to be none other than Tesla, who will be reporting Wednesday. Make it a great day, and as always, honor the moment.
It's losing its bite.